This is Cruise Radio.
I cruise a lot, and I always sail with travel insurance. You should too. Get a free quote today at tripinsurance.com.
Here we go.
Broadcasting from the tripinsurance.com studios in Jacksonville, Florida. This is Cruise Radio.
Hey, how's it going? My name is Doug Parker. Thank you so much for checking out this episode of Cruise Radio. Very happy to have you here, my friend. Coming up on this week's show, a review of Carnival Panorama and staff writer Richard Sims on deck with Cruise News. Jumping to him now. Hey, Richard.
Hey, Doug.
Starting with the story that has a lot of cruisers talking, Carnival Cruise Line changing up their loyalty program.
Let me just say this program, which is being set to roll out in June of next year, has created so much conversation and discord and backlash that I will be incredibly surprised if they don't wind up making some major tweaks to it. So what happens is the current Carnival VIFP, which is very important fun person, that program has been around for 13 years, has been incredibly successful for Carnival. I would say it's probably one of the most known and, certainly kind of loved loyalty programs within the cruise industry. If there's one thing people complain a lot about, and they will continue to complain about until the end of time, it's they don't necessarily always love the gifts that you get when you reach a new loyalty level. In any case, whether you love it or hate it, that program is going away. And as of June 1st of next year, they are introducing what they're calling Carnival Rewards. This program is going to operate on two levels. One involves points and one involves stars. How many stars you have will determine your status, meaning what level, whether you're gold, red, platinum, or diamond. The points can be used in other ways to buy other things. And Doug, am I reading this right, that this is basically connected, kind of co-branded with a credit card, right?
I mean, yeah, it is certainly a big push for you to get the Carnival MasterCard because the fun points are converting to the points and you'll get more if you spend more, like every other branded credit card out there.
Which is so odd to me because already, I have a Carnival card. I have the old one. I assume they're going to roll out a new one. I have the old one and it's the same thing. I get like double points when I use it on Carnival and I get 1 point for every dollar I spend elsewhere. You're also going to be able to earn points, not stars, in the casino. One of the things that people are sort of already complaining about is this. In the old program, once you reached diamond status, you had diamond status for life. When you reached gold status, even if you didn't cruise for like 6 years, you maintained that same status. This program is not going to be that way. What's going to happen is if you have gold membership in the VIFP, you will automatically start at gold in the Carnival Rewards. But you have to basically you will have that status for 2 years, and during which you can earn points, you can earn stars, you can either move up, you can earn up. But if you don't, like let's say you don't cruise for 2 years, then it sounds as if you go back to the beginning. Am I misreading that? But you have to go all the way back to the beginning, or do you just go back to the beginning of your gold status?
This seems to me like most airline programs here where you have, let's just say, a year or 2 years in this case to build your loyalty up, and then you get to enjoy those loyalty points the next couple of years, and you got to keep redoing this cycle. And if you don't hit that tier the next go around, well, you're going to go back to the bottom.
So let's say you join in at the gold level. You have 2 years during which you can maintain or increase your status. If you don't, then you go back. And, people are definitely not going to like that. The theory is, and it's a good theory, is that you will want to cruise more with Carnival. You won't want to expand into other lines and things because you have this deadline, this ticking deadline of 2 years before you're like, oh crap, I have to reset. I'm not terribly familiar with like airlines and hotel points programs. I am more familiar with sort of casino programs and cruise line programs, frankly. Do you know, is that true of airlines as well, that like if you don't fly on United, you lose your status?
Yeah, if you don't get the miles or loyalty points, whatever it is, in a set time, you reset back to zero.
Seeing as we got such a huge response on the website and there were so many people asking questions about it, what's the general tone of people's thoughts and comments?
Way to put me on the spot, man. So let me just pull these up. And these are not to be negative. They're just the most engaged comments here. Randy says, only reason I stayed with Carnival was the loyalty program. Glad they gave me an out to go try better ships. Another one, Kevin, I was looking for a reason to try other lines. Carnival just gave it to me. James says a Carnival money grab. Audrey says time to try other cruise lines. And it just goes on and on. There's really nothing positive said. And it's worth mentioning that the affinity for Carnival on the Cruise Radio page is like 60%. So it's massive.
In case you think that for some reason, which by the way is not true, that Cruise Radio, has a lot of negative comments normally. We don't. Our comments are very generally positive. And I don't mean our comments, I mean the things people comment on Doug's videos and our stories and stuff. Just so you know, it's not just our readers. John Heald posted about this with a video and some explanation and stuff on his page. And the comments there are brutal. Ashley Noble said, whoever came up with this idea should be fired. I'm not happy. One person who I have thought this about John before, because John becomes, as the brand ambassador, he is the face of the line and he often has to break news. And he tries to do it when it's negative. He tries to do it in the best way possible, but it's not easy. One person here said, I don't envy you today, sir, which I definitely understand. And somebody else, Nelson Hazen, pointed out exactly what I said, which is, based on these comments, I'd imagine there might be some quote unquote revisions made to this announcement in the future, unless they actually don't care about loyalty. So, this has definitely ruffled a lot of feathers. And it's not hard to imagine that Carnival will sort of backtrack a bit and make tweaks to this. In fact, I think that's one of the reasons they're waiting until June to roll it out. There are several reasons, I'm sure, but one probably is, okay, let's see how people react to this, and then let's see if we need to make adjustments. In fact, they even, in both their video and in some of the other material, they're like, you know what, we'll have more details coming later. And I suspect that's because those more details will be, how they sort of iron out the rough patches. We've been hearing for, at least 2 years, the Carnival was working on changes to their VIFP program. And we certainly had thoughts and theories, hopes and dreams as to what they might be. But boy, I just don't get the impression that this is what anybody wanted.
Probably also worth mentioning, Richard, that some of the perks are being cut back too, especially for the Platinum and Diamond. Like for Diamond, you would get the specialty, say, steakhouse for two. That's no longer in the equation. Also, unlimited laundry is now going to depend on how many days of your cruise. That will determine how many bags you get a week and so on. So there's other perks that are being taken away, and people aren't taking too kindly to that either.
I would also say, and I know this kind of goes against their reasoning. If they're, on the one hand, they're saying that one of the reasons behind this is because so many people have reached the top tier, which means they are very clearly hoping that at that top tier, some people, maybe a lot of people, won't be able to keep up with the what they need to do in order to maintain that loyalty. And so over time, there will be fewer and fewer Diamond passengers. And that just seems weird to me that you would want to do something that's going to have a negative impact on your most loyal cruisers. But that does seem to be the ultimate impact of this. The interesting thing is, I have looked at loyalty programs over the years, not necessarily thought about how much I need to spend to reach the next level, or not thought about, it's just I cruise a certain amount, and however much I cruise, that's how it works out. This, however, sort of puts a different spin on it, because it literally does make you think about it. Like, you might look at it and say, the only way I'm going to be able to maintain this status is if I take, say, 2 or 3 cruises this year and they're all on Carnival. So do I want to do that, limit myself to this line and try and, either maintain my status or get to the next level? Or do I just want to say, what, they obviously don't seem to really care all that much about my loyalty status and my loyalty to them. So I might as well try something else. As we learn more about this, we will continue to cover it both editorially and on the broadcast. But right now, these are the basics, and you have from now until June to sort of figure out not only where you fall in this program, but what it means for you as a Carnival passenger moving forward. Are you okay with this? Are you like, okay, let's go. Let's just keep earning more points and maintain our status. Or does it kind of give you pause? And we would love to hear from people. Drop us a line to let us know what your thoughts are on this and how it will impact you as a Carnival cruiser moving forward.
If you want to check the reward program in detail, it's carnivalrewards.com. Moving on here, a celebrity cruise ship broke free from the dock and almost smacked a Carnival cruise ship, and now we have an investigation underway?
This went down Monday in Juneau, Alaska. It started when the National Weather Service, for the first time ever in the history of that city, issued a severe thunderstorm warning. Soon after, the Celebrity Edge broke free of its moorings and drifted toward Carnival Luminoso. Now, we have talked about this a lot lately, that, the side of a ship is sort of like a giant sail. You get high winds. It puts a lot of pressure on the side of the ship, which in turn puts a lot of pressure on the mooring lines. And we've seen quite a bit lately that they can snap, and it can be a very dangerous situation. The good news is, in this situation, nobody was harmed. The two ships did not collide. They came close, but they did not collide. The situation was resolved when Edge finally dropped her anchor to stop her progress. The Luminosa eventually left port. The Edge returned to dock. What's kind of fascinating to me here is, I'm sure this has happened before, but I've never really been aware of it or heard of it. The Coast Guard actually put out a request asking anyone who might have videotaped the incident or posted about it on social media to send them the files. They want to look at it as part of their investigation. And according to one Coast Guard official who was talking to a local outlet, they got, and I'm quoting here, tons of submissions. So they have a lot of stuff to look at, a lot of stuff to cycle through. I assume that at the end of the day, it's not so much an effort to place blame on someone or to, press charges of some sort against someone, but an effort to sort of find out how this happens and are there things that can be done to prevent it happening in the future. And I think that's an investigation and a conversation worth having with all of the cruise lines. We're seeing a lot more of these incidents of lines snapping and moorings. And given that, we're heading into hurricane season and global warming and all the rest of it, it's not like we're going to see the weather getting better. So it's worth asking the question, how do we avoid this in the future? Because sooner or later, a ship is going to be tear apart from the dock, and it's going to have real consequences. We were talking about this a week or two ago, the video in which I don't remember what ship it was, but the mooring bell broke off and hit the side of the ship. And if that had gone up, a little bit higher, it could have gone up on the deck and taken out some people. It would have been a fatal incident if that had happened. So definitely worth taking a closer look at this, doing some investigating and finding out, what happened and how, and what do we do with that information moving forward?
Yeah, you always bring up the sailboat analogy, and it's so true because if you look at the side of the ship, especially in the video, that wind just took that ship and slung it pretty much across the harbor.
And the difference between a sailboat and the side of a ship is, if you're getting hit by strong winds on your sail, you can adjust your sail. Mm-hmm. You can't do that with the side of a ship. I mean, short of leaving the dock and changing the position of your ship. So that's sort of one of the reasons we keep running into this situation.
Question of the week from Mark in Connecticut. He wants to know, because you are in the know of all things TV, have you heard about the Carnival Triumph documentary coming out in a couple of weeks?
Oh, not only word, I've actually seen it. It is part of a series called Trainwreck, which airs on Netflix. Trainwreck originally started as a 3-part documentary about Woodstock 99 and how it went so terribly wrong. And it was wildly successful for them. Now, Netflix is releasing a series of these documentaries, all of them called Trainwreck and then a topic. There's one about Mayor Rob Ford. There's one about the Astro World shootings. This one is called, you gotta love the title. This one is called Trainwreck Poop Cruise. The Carnival Triumph was on a sailing when there was a fire in the engine room that was much more severe than they originally thought. It knocked out all the power, and the ship wound up essentially free floating for several days while tugs tried to figure out ways to get people off the ship, and they couldn't do it. And they tried to tow it, and they were going to tow it to Mexico, but the ship had drifted so far over those days that it was no longer feasible for it to get to Mexico. So they decided to tow it to Mobile, Alabama, which added another day or two on board. Meanwhile, there was no food. The toilets weren't working. It was, that's why they called it a poop cruise. So the documentary itself, it's only one episode. It's about an hour long. I went into it not sure, as a cruise fan, would I enjoy this or would I feel like the industry was being attacked? And it did not feel that way at all. I mean, they have the cruise director, Jen, who was on the ship at the time. They have some comment from Carnival PR, which I believe is former PR people who aren't actually with the company anymore. They have lots of footage from on board the ship because, 2013, people had personal video cameras. The various people who are telling their stories are interesting, and their stories are, horrific, but they also manage to sort of tell their story with a little bit of a sense of humor about, oh my God, how much worse is this going to get? Oh, look, it just got worse. It is, I highly recommend it. It debuts on Netflix on Tuesday, June 24th. And I think, yes, there will be we were talking about cruise apologists earlier. Cruise apologists will be offended by this, I'm sure. But I think most of us who are fans of the industry or just love cruising will be really interested in watching this and seeing how did things go wrong? How did things go from bad to worse? Anyway, it's a really, really well done documentary, and I think most people will probably enjoy it.
All right, I guess we'll see it on June 24th, just a few days away now. Staff writer Richard Sims, as always, thank you, my friend.
Glad to be here. Thanks a lot.
The world is constantly changing. Your place for news is still the same. Online and on demand at cruiseradio.net.
A big question we get at Cruise Radio is, how do I know if I need trip insurance? Simple answer. If you're getting on a plane, taking a road trip, or getting on a cruise ship, you need to have travel insurance. Hey, it's Doug Parker from my friends at tripinsurance.com. Not only does tripinsurance.com protect your vacation investment, but it also gives you peace of mind in case anything were to go wrong on your trip. How do they do it? They offer 3 different types of trip insurance policies. Good, better, and best. One policy for every vacation budget. But it doesn't just stop there. They're up to 40% lower when you shop around on other comparison sites. Plus, tripinsurance.com offers 24-hour customer support before, during, and after your trip, online claims assistance, and travel alerts to let you know what's going on at your destination. But find out for yourself. Check out tripinsurance.com.
Have a tip or a lead on a news story? Let us know. Email tips@cruiseradio.net.
Bill and his wife just returned from a 6-night cruise on Carnival Panorama, and he joins us on the line to chat about it. How you doing, Bill?
Good. How are you doing?
Good. Glad to talk to you today, Bill, talking about Carnival Panorama, a ship we haven't heard of in quite a few months, so excited to jump in here. But before we get down to Panorama, you're up just north of Seattle, Washington. Give us some pre-cruise thoughts. What made you want to take the flight south and jump on Panorama for a week?
On this particular cruise, we wanted to try the western side of Mexico. So then we thought we'd combine 2 of our favorite things, Disneyland and cruise all together. So then we were just looking for a ship out of Long Beach. We cruised Carnival. So we chose the Panorama and a couple days in Disneyland before and after.
So because you did Disney before, how far is Anaheim from Long Beach, the cruise port, and how did you get around town? Did you Uber, shuttle, rent a car, whatnot?
So, yeah, we used a rideshare service to get there, and Carnival sent out an email a few days before saying that there was, I think, a Pride Festival going on. So they said to expect or arrive early. So we're not from down there, so we ended up getting to the port early. I think it only took like half hour or something to get from our hotel to the port. But once you're at the port, the drive to get to where you get dropped off, it gets really congested. So I think we're in that line for like 15 or 20 minutes.
Oh, wow. So you make your way to the cruise terminal. How long did it take you once you got out of the Uber and you went into the terminal there from the curb to the ship?
We had Faster the Fun, and so we made it to our staging area. We were there before our check-in time of 10:30. I think we were there. I think we were inside the building about 10:10 or something, and they let us go right around 10:30. And from the time they called us and getting on the ship, it was only 15 or 20 minutes or something. It was pretty fast.
So have you sailed the Vista class before?
Yeah, we did the Vista 2 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then with the Panorama, this was the second time.
So you're no stranger to the layout of these Vista class ships where you walk in and you have that LED dreamscape right in the middle there. Quite the departure from other Carnival Cruise Line ships. But what were your first impressions as you walked on board Carnival Panorama?
I really liked this class of ship. The other ships that we've done were like the Glory, Valor, and Liberty. And so this is bigger, nicer. What I noticed with the Panorama is it was really clean. They've really taken good care of the ship.
I guess when this ship first came out, it only was in service for 2 months, and then the shutdown happened, and then it finally ramped up a couple of years later. So you're pretty much sailing on almost a brand new ship here. So you make your way to your stateroom. What kind of stateroom did you book for this 7-night cruise, and what did you think of it throughout the voyage?
We liked the back corner of the ship, so we were in Havana area. We were in room 9476. So we're looking out the back inside. We get I think it's like the premium Havana balcony. So you get to look out the back and the side because you have a really large balcony in that room. Being on the ninth deck, it was the only room when we booked it that of that type that we wanted. So we know that we're underneath the 10th deck where that's backed by the pizza and there's a swimming pool back there. It definitely lived up to all the reputation of hearing chairs move around, but we sleep pretty deeply, so it really wasn't that bad. But if that's something that concerns you, the ninth, right below that Lido deck, is not the place to be. Did
you book the Havana cabin? Was it because of the aft pool privilege, or was it because of the balcony space, or why? What made you want to go with that Havana cabin for the week? We did the Havana on the Vista, and we absolutely loved it. We went with my brother and his daughter and their families, and it really wasn't utilized very much. I think there'd only be 15 or 20 people down there. Mm-hmm. This time it was a little busier down there, and we only actually went to the Havana area a few times. We just really like that large balcony, and the view from, the wake of the ship is what I enjoy. And, that's why we picked that. I would pick Havana every single time just because it's nice to have access to that, but I'll take the back corner, anytime. The ship recently underwent a dry dock. Did they do much in refurbishments for their rooms? Were there any updated plugs, like a USB-C or anything? No, but they had USB plugs on the lamps next to the bed. There was plenty of outlets. We didn't have a problem with any of that. It was nice, but I don't think that had been updated. With that corner balcony, you had a larger balcony than normal. Does that mean the stateroom's a little bit larger than normal? I believe how they work, on the Vista, we had a bigger room, but as they kind of take tier up,
our room was kind of small. It was a little different shape. The room itself was kind of small, but that's not the point of it.
Sure.
For us, it had a bed and table and like a chair. So we didn't you get the traditional sofa. It didn't have that. It just had a little table and a chair and then the bed.
So let's talk about the food on board Carnival Panorama. We'll start at the Lido deck, the Lido marketplace up there. What did you think of the buffet throughout the cruise, the times you did eat there? And did it ever feel too crowded in there?
We didn't do a lot of eating in the buffet. We kind of like if we would get Guy's Burger or something, then we would just grab fruit to go with it. It was never too busy. Of course, the last day when you're disembarking, it's a complete madhouse in there.
I know you didn't spend a lot of time in there, but the time you did spend, did it hold up to Carnival's food standards?
Yeah, I think so. We the first sea day we went to the main dining room and I guess the first night, and they had my favorite. We've had it before, the Szechuan shrimp.
Mm-hmm.
That's really good. After that, we kind of the next night we did teppanyaki, which was excellent. It was a great experience. The food was amazing. Then we ate at Guy's barbecue at the Parched Pig.
Mm-hmm.
And they had for additional cost, they had something called the whole smoker. You got brisket and chicken and pulled pork and I think ribs. That was really good. And there was live music in there. Yeah, it was really, that part was really good. I think we pretty much enjoyed all the food we got.
Mm-hmm.
We went back to the main dining room for lobster night, and yeah, that was really good too.
Couple of questions here. So in the main dining room, what time dining did you have?
We did early, 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock. And did you find that the service was there and you were in and out efficiently?
Yeah, I felt like it was better this time than the past cruises.
Mm-hmm.
It seems for whatever reason we're always towards the end of it getting out, but it all happened pretty quick, and we were able to move on to the rest of our evening.
The teppanyaki, was that something you had to book in advance because it fills up and sells out really quickly?
Yeah, I like to plan stuff, so I think I booked that 4 months early, and so they seat you by when it was booked. So we kind of got the right middle of the station. So we got the best seats by booking early. So that was a great experience, yeah.
And then for the Guy's barbecue, I have to ask you, as far as call it cruise ship barbecue, what were your thoughts of it?
Yes. The first night when we went there, we ended up going there 2 nights in a row.
Mm-hmm.
And we got the same thing both nights. But the first night, it was really good. And I mean, I don't want to get in trouble with anybody, calling it barbecue, but it tasted good. We enjoyed it. The second night, maybe it was because we had it the night before. I'm not exactly sure why we went back, but I think we liked the server that we had there, and the guy doing the music was doing a good job. So we went back there.
Yeah, there is a really cool vibe, atmosphere there with a guitar player, the steel drum, whoever's up there, and those trash can nachos that they have on the menu there. Do you know those are $25 in Vegas at his restaurant?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
We got those the next night. So we ended up going there 3 nights in a row just because we really were enjoying the musician. Mm-hmm. And then the last night we just went there for snacks. We had the trash can nachos and yeah, they're good.
Yeah, they are. They definitely are there. So as far as any other venues, did you hit up the steakhouse or Cucina on this sailing?
Yeah, we did Cucina for lunch and Gigi's
mm-hmm.
for lunch. It was really good. We were having lunch at Cucina, met a couple from Henderson, and we were just having a lunch and just chatting with them, and just great meeting other people that love the cruise. And, lunch was good at both places. I think I preferred Cucina over Gigi's.
Let's talk about the entertainment on Carnival Panorama. How did it stack up for y'all, and anything really stick out?
Yeah, so I think this was the best production that we have seen yet. It was new shows, and I don't remember the name of them, but it was really good. Then they had a night where they were with the string quartet. I think they're called the Orion Brothers, they played music and the playlist production did stuff with them. It was really entertaining. And then Carnival always has really good comedians. So I think they had 4 different comedians on this one. 2 were excellent. And then we missed one. And then another one we saw his PG show, and it was a little bit of a struggle for him.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. Sometimes it's just the mood in the crowd doesn't work for the comedian, but it was fun overall.
One thing I noticed on my last Carnival sailing out of Seattle was that karaoke was massive on the ship out of Seattle. Did it have a big presence on the Panorama?
Yeah, they were doing karaoke quite a few times because it was done back by the Havana area, or at least the back end of the ship. And so we would cross it as we were going like to and from our room. Yeah, there was. I'm not a karaoke guy, and everybody's probably happy for that. But there was a lot of karaoke on this cruise.
How was the casino with the smoke situation in and around it?
Obviously, if you're in the casino, it's a little smoky. I thought overall it was pretty good. When I'm in a casino, I always think, because I know that's always a question you ask, so I always kind of make a note, like, is it super smoky? If you're in there, obviously it's a little smoky. It wasn't so bad coming to or from it. Mm-hmm. The only thing I wish was a little better is, like, they have a non-smoking casino on that one, but it's a pretty small room. We only played a few things in there just because the selection wasn't that great. So we ended up playing in the main casino, but it didn't bother us. So
the sea days, as far as crowds and congestion, how did they stack up for you?
It was pretty good. I really liked this cruise and this ship. With our balcony, we did spend a lot of time back there. We didn't go on the Lido a whole lot necessarily. We kind of passed through there as we were going to get, pizza or ice cream or something. But overall, I didn't think the ship felt crowded at all for us.
You mentioned that the first time you did Vista, there wasn't a lot of people back there on Havana. This time there was a little bit more, you said. But if you wanted to go back there and kind of hang out on the sea day, was it pretty easy to find a chair or a lounger back there in the Havana?
Yeah. And so by busier than the first time, there might have been like 30 or 40 people back there, maybe.
Oh, that's not bad.
At the most. Yeah. And so, like when we did the Vista, there was times where there's nobody in the hot tub. Mm-hmm. It just, on this one, when we first left and coming back, the weather wasn't necessarily super warm. And so I think that it wasn't like, oh, let's go, get in the pool or anything, but
sure,
it still wasn't very busy back there at all. You could get like a clam or little loungers or couches that, we went back and sat on and hung out there for a while.
Yeah, it sure is nice back there on a sea day.
Yes.
So let's talk about your ports of call here. You leave Long Beach. What was your first port of call? And give us a highlight there.
So it was Cabo. We haven't been there. And one of the things I wanted to do was I wanted to see Cabo Wabo.
Yeah.
Sammy Hagar's bar. Mm-hmm. So it's a tender port. So once we got off the boat, we just walked to Cabo Wabo. It's a mile or a little more. The sidewalks are a little sketchy. There's holes in them and they're bumpy, but you're not going through anything sketchy. I mean, I didn't feel unsafe or anything like that. So we did Cabo Wabo the first day, and then we did an excursion through Carnival the second day, and that was the Family Beach Resort with authentic Mexican buffet. And that was just taking a bus to one of the resorts and hanging out on their beach, and that was a good excursion.
Do you overnight in Cabo?
Yeah, so I think they take you out just far enough so they could gamble.
Oh, true. Okay. Yeah.
And then they just go and re-anchor. We didn't go very far, for sure.
So then after Cabo, your 2 days there, what was up next?
We had a sea day and making our way up to go to Ensenada.
So 2 nights in Cabo and then Ensenada. What did y'all do there?
So in Ensenada, we were looking out our balcony, and it looks like there's nothing by where the ship docks. So you have a long walk, and then you go across the bridge to an area. And so we just kind of felt like, we had the Havana, we had our big balcony. We just stayed on the ship and enjoyed the Havana in our balcony that day.
With this 6-night itinerary, you're only doing 2 nights in Cabo and Ensenada. The rest are sea days then. No Puerto Vallarta, Mazatlan, all that.
No, we just did Cabo for 2 days and then Ensenada. We were close to Puerto Vallarta, but I don't know why I'm not sure why we were in Cabo 2 days, but that was all right. We've never did an overnight in a port. Mm-hmm. And so it does make it easier the next day because you can kind of figure out where everything's at that first day. And then we booked at the beach club.
Sounds like a great 2 days. You mentioned it was a little bit chilly when you were leaving Long Beach. Did it warm up as you headed south?
Yeah, it was. I'm not sure how hot it was. I think 80s.
Nice.
It was nice. You could walk around port. You weren't scorching too bad. Being from Seattle area, we're sun adverse up here.
Right.
It was really nice weather overall.
You make your way back to Long Beach after your last day at sea there. Actually, is there a last day at sea between Ensenada and Long Beach, or is it a straight shot?
I think they drive slow. It's really not all that far.
Right, that's what I was thinking.
And then we were in Ensenada, then disembarking the next morning.
How was the debark process for Carnival Panorama, and are they using facial recognition?
Yeah, they did use facial recognition. We don't have a problem with that. It seems to make things go a lot smoother. Mm-hmm. We didn't have anything to declare. We were kind of coming down and there was a porter saying, "Hey, go this way. We'll take your bag." Other people were going the other way, through Carnival. We were out in the parking lot waiting for our ride share in fast, 10, nice. 15 minutes.
Do you have any first-time tips to offer anyone who might be sailing Carnival Panorama or cruising out of Long Beach?
Yeah, for whatever reason, way to get into the cruise port in Long Beach, it was like a 2-lane road, and one lane of it was semi trucks and stuff. I think that were for stocking the ship, and I think they would call those trucks when they were ready for them. And so it really congested. And so it took a little longer to get in there than some of the other ports. Don't cut corners or wait till the last minute. I mean, I wouldn't go super early, but don't just try to be there if we leave now, we'll get there right at 10:30 because you're going to be stuck in traffic outside of it. With the Panorama, it's such a nice ship. Everything seemed clean, and I think everything was working. Just know that the auditorium for the shows and the lounge for the comedy clubs are smaller than some of the other ships we've been on. So there was some lines. We got a seat for every show we wanted. So that wasn't a problem. I don't know if that was just this cruise. There wasn't a lot of people necessarily doing the shows, but I know in the past there's been big lines to get in to see the shows and stuff. Just make sure you prioritize if there's a comedian you really want to go to. Once again, don't wait till the last second to go there because you might not have a seat because they're just smaller rooms. Back
to what you were saying about with provisioning the ships with the semi trucks, I forgot all about that, where it's basically one way in and it's the same way out, and everyone's kind of sharing that same road. So those semis do back up, especially on a heavy provisioning day where they might be bringing in, I don't know, a tanker truck plus 3 or 4 semis for the booze and food. Right. So yeah, you're right there for sure.
Yes.
Looking back, what was the biggest highlight of this cruise for y'all?
I would have to say it was the teppanyaki. That was such a fun experience. I got surf and turf, so I had filet and lobster. My wife had filet and shrimp, and it was so good. And you get so much food. You're not going to leave there hungry. But it was a great show, great food. Yeah, I think that was the highlight of the cruise.
What do you think your wife would say?
She really enjoyed the teppanyaki as well. Uh-huh. She might say the shows might have been her favorite.
Okay.
They had really good shows this time, and on the Vista class, they have the backdrop that they use to enhance the show, to project stuff on it, and then they had a drone show with it on one of the shows, and that was really cool.
So I remember when Vista and Horizon came out in the cherry on top shop. It was like a ice cream parlor as well. Is it still like that?
I think it's the small cherry on top, like what you'd have on the Glory or Valor. The Vista has the ice cream shop. I think the cherry on top was just a small store.
Did I miss anything that you may want to just kind of throw in there? Good, bad, the ugly of the cruise?
There was no ugly on the cruise for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'd be remiss if I didn't say that as with every cruise, we've just cruised Carnival, but the crew on the ship, they all go out of their way to make sure you're having the greatest vacation possible. And the crew of the Panorama was the same. You get such great service. Everybody's friendly. Carnival's doing a really good job as far as hiring the right crew for sure. It's always amazing. You get treated so well.
Was the value there for what you paid for the sailing?
Yeah, I think so. For us, our room was a little smaller, but the balcony is really big. That's what's important to us is that really nice balcony with a great view. The Havana is a nice thing to have. Yeah, I was happy with everything we paid.
And in closing here, your final thoughts of Carnival Panorama.
My wife and I both said that it's our favorite ship. The ports may not be, I think we like the Caribbean more, but we would definitely do the Panorama again for sure. It's a great ship. It was a great cruise.
I've been talking with Bill about his 6-night sailing on Carnival Panorama out of Long Beach, California, down to Cabo and Ensenada. Bill, thank you for sharing this review, my friend.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right, Dougie, let's see what we got for you, buddy. Cruise Radio is produced at the tripinsurance.com studios in Jacksonville, Florida. Get cruise news, ship reviews, and money-saving tips every Thursday on Cruise Radio. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the show. If you want to help spread the word, give Cruise Radio a 5-star review. Find Cruise Radio where you listen to your favorite podcast or online at cruiseradio.net. I'm your announcer,